What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Trust the Bank podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, welcome back to the YouTube side of things. We are honestly, they all got their numbers. We'll probably be talking about that as well. But Joshua, if you had to, let's do one word. You have one word to describe this Ravens draft class, this draft, Eric DeCosta. What is the one word you would choose to describe it?
One word to choose this year's draft class, this year's draft for the Ravens. I would say surprising.
Okay.
For something I would say surprising for at 14. I did not expect I did not expect for us to stay at 14. I really didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't expect for us to actually trade up. But at staying at 14, I did not expect us to get one of the best athletes in this year's draft outside of Mr. Thibodeau. What also shocked me was, right after we picked, Kyle Hamilton, if I didn't watch the reaction video, my heart dropped when we sent Hollywood out to AZ to play with his former teammate Kyler Murray. Then we traded back. I'm like, oh man, they got Treylon Burks. That probably would have been their guy. We go and get Mr. Tyler Linderbaum. I said, oh man, we don't. I even before the draft was been my saying. I don't want us to draft no center in the first round. I felt like he could have been available, still would have been available in the second. But hey, it's neither here nor there. I do understand things happen. I do understand, once your guy gets picked, you have to move because after we picked Tyler Linderbaum, New England pulled out a panic move and went here and got Cole Strange in the first round, which I think Cole Strange was actually projected around second or third.
Yeah.
So, and then, day two, who else do we draft?
Mr. Michigan.
Mr. Michigan, Mr. Adolfo's Wade brother from another, his running mate from high school. I mean, granted, the young man's hurt. I mean, the playbook, I'm not worried about that. My thing is his conditioning level, and when he's ready to play, will he be at a playing level? So, I thought, me personally, I wanted Mr. George Pickens.
Have you seen the video of George Pickens when he got drafted? And all the people are saying, well, he's a perfect Steeler because this dude's either going to be a Hall of Famer or he's going to be out of the league by week 5.
You know what makes it even? I don't know if you've seen the McConnell, but it gets even more interesting. Who's going to win the fight between him and Marcus Peters? I've been seeing that all over Twitter as well. So, hey, Mr. GP, I'm looking forward to you being in the AFC North. I'm looking forward to seeing you twice, and I'm looking forward to stealing your lunch money as well because we ain't taking no prisoners out here. I know how you get down, but you ain't played knuckle up bully ball football until you played against the Ravens. So I like what you bring out there. So but outside of that, it was surprising though. It was very surprising.
I like surprising. I think I'm gonna go with Ravens. That's my one word. Because it was just. If you imagine, we talk about the Ravens way, right? I wasn't going to say way because that would have made any sense. This is a classic Ravens draft. Maybe classic is the better word to choose. They went best player available basically at all times, right?
Well,
Kyle Hamilton is sitting there and they were like, well, I'll be darned. We didn't think you'd be there. They talked about it, I think, in the press conferences. They were like, yeah, we didn't think he'd be there. And they went with Kyle Hamilton. I love that pick. Then they're sitting there at 25, and they're like, yeah, they could have gone, and they could have gone with it. I believe Jermaine Johnson was on the table, George Pickens, Christian Watson, and they were like, Tyler Linderbaum is the best center in the last 10 years. We're going to go with him. David Ojabo, even though he's hurt, he's the best player in this draft left. They end up going with him. So I felt like it was just so classic, such a Ravens draft, such an Ozzie Newsome draft. We even went after those Alabama players with Mr. Jalen Armour-Davis. I was
a little torn with that one because Josh Joby was still available. But hey,
I know an Alabama fan, and he said that Josh Joby was his least favorite person in this entire draft class. He was like, he is not good. He said before the draft, he was like, he shouldn't be drafted. He is not a draftable player. And he said Jalen Armour-Davis, he was like, he's all right. He's better than Joby, but he's not ready yet to be like the starter. Like he's a very developmental prospect. But I was surprised about the shortness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the Tariq Woollens? The Zion McCollums? They end up going with Damarion Williams, who I'd actually talked about. I like Damarion Williams, but I was surprised that they didn't go with Zion. Maybe they were just like, man, we had Chris Westry last year. We didn't like, because Chris Westry is like the best comparison for those guys. 6'4", 4'3", 40-yard dash. Like that's those guys right there. And they were just like, I think it was too tough for Chris Westry to stay with the really quick wide receivers. Like, yeah, he could keep up with you on the deep ball, but
just didn't have the hips.
It's just too tough. And that was one of the problems with those guys is, yeah, they're great potential. I think if they were in cover 3 schemes like the Seahawks used to run, where they snap that ball and they run back after impress coverage, they're going to be monsters. But the Ravens run man to man, and so if we go against a Tyreek Hill, or we go against a Jalen Waddle of the Dolphins, I mean, they're running underneath. They're hitting those cuts.
I was about to say, anybody that hits a double move for a living. Jamar Chase, like you said, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill.
Honestly, Hollywood.
They live for the double move. So, if you don't go for the first move, you're gonna go for the second move. If you watch basketball, almost some of the best ballers, hoopers, dribblers got that hezzy in their arsenal. If they don't catch you with the one time, if they catch you with that hezzy, they going straight to the bucket, or they going to shoot it in your face. We all seen Allen Iverson did Tyronn Lue back in the day, and Kyrie Irving is a master at dribbling the ball. So, most definitely.
Yeah, and so let's kind of start getting into the draft and the actual picks. All right, let's start off with Kyle Hamilton. Joshua, number 14. Number 14 on the draft, number 14 in college, number 14 for the Ravens. What do you think about that pick now that you've had some time to think about it?
I mean, man, from the reaction video, man, I was all for it, just for the simple fact that we got somebody in their early 20s with a high IQ in the secondary, plus a Pro Bowl, plus having them next to a Pro Bowler safety that's in his prime that just hit 25. I don't know about how you feel, McConnell, but the way I'm feeling, the secondary is about to be a little scary, in my opinion. I see a lot of plays being made, and a lot of and we finally get those playmakers. That's something we've been dying. We've been dying at the helm. I know we all loved Marlon Humphrey with the fruit punch and everything, but being able to get those interceptions, be able to take it to the house, get the pick sixes. When one man is down, you got your guys on the back end to pick up, and you got your safety being able to come up and make a play in the run game, or defend some of the best tight ends. That's what a Kyle Hamilton can do. So I'm all for it. I actually like the pick. The only thing is a young man that had the green dot for a little while, he's about to be the odd man out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I absolutely love it. This may be my favorite pick the Ravens made since they picked Lamar Jackson. This may be my favorite pick the Ravens ever made.
Ooh.
And I went into the 2018 NFL draft hoping for Lamar Jackson. Like, I wanted Lamar, even though we had Flacco. I wanted him. Luckily, we ended up getting him. Kyle Hamilton, I talked about him so many times. He was my number 2 player in this draft. So many times I felt like we were in the stream, people were like, what do you think about Kyle Hamilton? I'm like, guys, I can't talk about Kyle Hamilton. He's not going to be there. Like, it's not worth talking about it because he won't be there. And I'd be like, I think he's maybe the best player in this draft. But he's not going to be a Raven because the Ravens can't. I mean, they're not going to trade up for him. He's going to get taken like top 3 or something like that. And man, he ended up falling. And he fits the Ravens so well. High IQ, high physicality, high motivation to succeed. And he is going to fit in beautifully as an over-the-top player. I think a lot of people see that size and they're like, oh, he can be a box safety and have Chuck Clark and Marcus Williams over top. No, Kyle Hamilton is an over-the-top safety. He is so smart. That is where he makes his money. And actually, there were a lot of scouts that said a lot of people will box him into being a box safety. However, that actually limits his best strengths, which is his ability to bait the quarterback and recognize different routes coming across the field. Kyle Hamilton is going to be deep. Now, obviously, in certain situations, throw him on a tight end. He can cover him. That's fine. Mm-hmm. But he's going to be a deep safety, and he's going to be an absolute playmaker in the NFL. And I fully believe his number will not be worn again if he has a full career with the Baltimore Ravens. I think 14's done, unless he switches numbers like Marlon did from number 29. But I really think that he will be like a Hall of Fame caliber player. Like, that's how good his talent is. If he has a healthy career with the Baltimore Ravens, the Ravens are going a lot of places. A lot.
And you know what the best thing about this Kyle Hamilton pick? You get him in the first round, so now you got him for technically 5 years.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say that's going to be the best. That's going to be some of the best 5 years of his career. No. Usually safeties, they can play for a good strong 10, 12. But we got the youth now on the back end, and we're going to have them for a long time. But because the Ravens will pay their defensive players, we know that.
Yeah. But he's cheap right now. Very cheap right now. We can get top tier. I mean, he could come in and, like, this season, there is a chance he comes in and is a top 5 safety in the NFL. I'm not saying he will. However, we've seen safeties in the past come in and be recognized as, yes, this guy is one of the best in the game. The most recent was Derwin James. Kyle Hamilton is a better draft prospect. He's a more complete player than Derwin James was coming out of college. And Derwin James came in and everyone was like, is this guy the best in the NFL already? And he's not alone. Like, Derwin James was alone in that secondary, it seemed like, in I believe it was San Diego back then. Kyle Hamilton's coming in, and he gets to play with 3 of the best at their position already. They already have a top 10 safety, 2 top 10 corners. He gets to play and be the 4th guy. He could end up being the best player in that secondary within a couple of seasons. And I'm not trying to put too much on his plate. I really do think, though, that he has the mind, the instincts, the athleticism, the ball skills to be able to really take this defense from a very good defense, some would say a top 5 defense, into the best defense in the NFL. Because that secondary, there isn't a hole. With Marlon, Marcus, Marshall, Williams, and Mr. Kyle Hamilton, that's a full set.
Let's go ahead and throw Darius Washington and Brandon Stevens in there just for safety measures.
No. We're talking about the elite of the elite.
Yeah. We go both.
I love me, Mom Marshall.
You know what? Amon's going to have a healthy season. He's going to have a Deshaun Elliott season.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get into the next pick, though.
Let me be more positive about it.
Yeah. The next pick, Tyler Linderbaum, pick 25. The Ravens got their center. There were other centers in the draft. Luke Fortner, Dylan Parham. And when I think we were both on the same page. When the Ravens selected Tyler Linderbaum, we were surprised because the Ravens traded up. They traded Hollywood up to 23 and then traded back to 25. And we were like, oh, we got Mr. Jermaine Johnson available. Like, we've got, George Pickens available. We've got all these players available. They end up going with Tyler Linderbaum. Now that we've seen the entire draft, because at that point it was like, okay, we got Linderbaum. We don't know what they're doing in round 2, 3, 4, 6. We don't know what they're doing. Now that we know what they did, what do you think about that Tyler Linderbaum pick?
I'm gonna put it to you. You like what's your favorite type of car?
Rolls Royce.
Okay, Rolls Royce. Let's say we all the TTB funds, we go ahead buy a Rolls Royce, double R's, we get off the lot for maybe about $45,000-$50,000.
A Rolls Royce starting price is $500,000.
Even better. We going up it. $500,000, $500,000.
TTB has been very good to us, I guess.
So we get up the lot $500,000. That's Marquise. We riding around 3 years. We done had some bumps and bruises. Had to take it to the shop and everything like that. The next thing we want upgrade. Now correct me if I'm wrong. Does a Maybach cost more than a Rolls Royce?
I have no idea.
All right, I'm gonna go with the Maybach because that's Rick Ross type of thing, double M. But say say we get called up by the dealer, say, hey man, we know you had that Rolls Royce for over 3 years, you want to trade that in, let's check the Carfax, all that other good stuff. I'm like, all right, how much y'all willing to buy it for? If you buy it off of me about $750, and you telling me that out of that $750, I can put it down and get a better vehicle, I take it. So right now, that's how the Marquise trade and the Linderbaum pick is right now, because in the greater scheme of things, yes, we all wanted to get the replacement for Marquise, because when you do lose one piece, you always had to bring in another piece, that's going to be beneficial. But also we had to understand that for the past couple of years that Lamar Jackson has been the starting QB, we have never gave him a true starting center. And we always been talking about, what? This young man needs protection. He keeps on running for his life. He keeps on being hurt. Not getting hurt, but
getting hit.
Yeah. So getting a title in the bomb, giving him the first round, and then he's projected to be a Hall of Fame center, and you're gonna have him for 5 years, and hopefully they get the deal done after we win the Super Bowl. Get Lamar Jackson for another 6 to 7 years. Lamar Jackson will finally have a true relationship and foundation with his center. And his center, in the young Tyler Linderbaum, if y'all haven't watched the film, he gets out there, he pulls, he's also nasty. He finished the blocks, and he makes sure, yo, if you thought you was going to get to my quarterback, you're not getting to my quarterback. Yeah, he's good for a pancake. So I love at this point now, when I think about the greater scheme of things, I love the pick, because at first when I saw Tyler Linderbaum, I said, when I saw Marquise go, I said, oh, Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you. So, I mean, all in all, after the emotions died down, seeing this is an actual pick that we need, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a fantastic pick, especially when you look at the rest of the draft. All right, if you guys don't know who Peyton Manning is, hopefully you do. He's one of the best football players of all time. Joshua, do you know who Peyton Manning sat next to on every team trip? Every bus ride? What?
Jeff Saturday, right?
Mr. Jeff Saturday. Why? Because that is the most important relationship a quarterback can have. Everyone thinks it's the wide receiver, right? Oh, you got to be in sync with that wide receiver. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, if you're not in sync with your center, when you're going under center and you're taking that snap, if your hands aren't in that exact spot, you're dropping the ball. You can't even throw it to your wide receivers. If that center's throwing it a little bit to your side, you're having to step aside. Maybe you miss the catch, throws it over your head, throws it underneath you. You are in big trouble. And that's how Lamar actually got a concussion in the playoff game, was a snap over his head against the Buffalo Bills that knocks him out because he tries to pick it up and throw it because it was in they're losing in a playoff game. He's got to do everything he possibly can. He unfortunately can't get that ball, ends up getting hurt because of a bad snap. Luckily, didn't have to miss any games after that because it was the last game of the year for the Baltimore Ravens, but it could have taken him out for a little bit longer. But so when you're looking at that pick, it's not the prettiest pick. However, it's going to be the one that's not noticed, but also it will be noticed because it'll just be like, wow, the blocks are great. No holding penalties. Wow, that's a good snap right there. Because we don't notice good snaps. We don't notice good blocking unless we see a pancake, which I'm hoping we get to see, IHOP this season. But overall, not noticing them is the best possible thing. Whereas all the other positions, you want to notice them. You want the sacks from the edge rushers. You want the picks from the corners. You want the touchdowns from the running backs. You want the nothing from the linemen. That's what you want, the nothing. I guess if you're drafting Trevor Penning, you don't want him to throw a guy into your quarterback. That's the other thing.
You don't want him to throw him, but you do want your big O's to be nasty. Now,
yes, we want him throwing him into that ground. But let's get into the next pick, Mr. David Ojabo. I felt like we talked about him a lot. We'll talk about the day 2 picks, actually, kind of as a whole, rather than otherwise it may take forever to go through all of these picks. So David Ojabo and Travis Jones, 2 guys, 2 front 7 players. What do you think about those selections, Joshua, between Ojabo and Travis Jones?
I'm gonna be real. I mean, honestly, even though Aiden Hutchinson was projected number 1, between that out of that duo, David Ojabo was the most athletic out of those 2 in Michigan. I mean, like, if we're gonna be real about it, if we're gonna be honest about it, Aiden Hutchinson just got all the glory. I mean, that's what happens when one guy's doing all the work. You know what? Let's take it back a step further. Last year, when we got defensive end that didn't get no sacks, I believe it was his running mate that got drafted. I think his running mate probably got drafted before him. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mr. Micah Parsons.
There we go. So when you got one guy doing all the dirty work, taking up all the attention, that does what? That opens up the holes, that open up the gaps for those guys to fill and flow. So with David Ojabo doing what he did on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson, Aiden Hutchinson made it work out. But when David Ojabo got in the backfield, he made his presence known at the University of Michigan. I mean, granted, I don't like the way they treated him during his pro day when he fell down. When he fell down and got injured, they just, kept the show going. I mean, I understand business is business, but, he still is a human being. I love the fact that he is here with his former defensive coordinator, also with his, old running mate from high school. So it's almost like a dream come true. Only thing about this, let's hope it doesn't end up like Jarvis and Odell. We want a better version of that, That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But when David Ojabo comes back healthy and strong, I'm not worried about him learning to play. But my thing is, being in play mode ready, stamina up, ready to go, ready to contribute, help with that playoff push and hopefully get us to the Super Bowl. So, and all in all, I do think he could have been a 3rd-round pick. But, sometimes when, we miss out on players, you got to go best player available. And David Ojabo was the best man available. So the Ravens did right.
Yeah, and I think both of those picks were best player available. I had Travis Jones as a late first, maybe early second player because of his ability to rush the passer at his size. Being over 300 pounds as a nose tackle, as a 1 tech, he can play 3 tech as well. That's very valuable in the NFL. So often we have guys like Brandon Williams, where I love Brandon Williams. However, you can't put him in on passing situations because he's not going to do anything. Travis Jones in college showed that he can get through, generate push, and actually sack the quarterback. Now, he's going to have to develop it so then he can do that at the NFL level. He's probably going to start off as just a run-stopping nose tackle, but the potential is there for him to become a very dynamic duo. Like, Justin Madubuike and Travis Jones on the interior is a force of run-stopping, pass-rushing, nose tackle, 3 techs. Like, that would be unbelievable in 2-3 years when Calais, unfortunately, is gone, when Michael Pierce is gone. If we can develop those guys right, next to Ojabo and Away, that is a freaky, athletic, physical, pass-rush, run-stopping quartet? Is that what it would be? A quartet?
I think so.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Travis Jones, they did say if he actually went to a Power 5 school, he would be a projected top 20 pick. So, I mean, honestly, Travis Jones, shout out to you by, going to a little small school. Maybe should have did it one better and went to HBCU. We really could have got you in the 4th.
I don't know. Apparently, the Ravens don't like the HBCUs. I'm just saying they didn't draft our guys.
They got an undrafted free agent, dog.
Of course, out of the same school as Tariq Woolen, which is the funny part.
Dang, man.
Oh well, you know what? Shout out to I believe it's Charles Wiley, or I think that's his name. The edge rusher. But let's get into round 4. We'll do the first half of round 4. Round 4 is too big to talk about all the players. First half of round 4, the first 3 players.
We got 6 of them.
Ravens take Daniel Falele, Jalen Armour-Davis, and Mr. Charlie Kohler. Joshua, out of those 3 players, do you have a favorite? I feel like you do.
Hey, come on, man. You already know where I'm going at.
Mr. Jalen Armour-Davis. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, I'm not like Ozzy. You know, I got family down south. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not an Alabama homer. But no, for real though, Daniel Falehi, man, that been one of my guys. Between him and Darian Kennard, I forgot who he went to, but he actually got him listed as guard. But neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But honestly, you know, I say this is more of an insurance policy. We don't know how much longer we'll have the Morgan Moses. I forgot how long is the contract for Morgan Moses.
I think it's 2 or 3 years.
Okay,
I think it's 3 actually.
So that actually works in our favor. You got 3 years of a veteran right tackle, and also, you know, within those 3 years, you can actually train Daniel Falehi up, and he can also, you know, build on his technique and get more solid. Because yes, he's a big Bohemian at 6'8" and dang near 394, but still, you know, in the NFL, yes, you may have to reach. You still got to learn. You still got to perfect your technique. And I actually do see him starting early this season, because I don't see them rushing Ronnie Stanley back. So, you know, depending on how the schedule looks, you know, those first 3-4 games may be very beneficial to him. So I actually love the Daniel Falehi move.
Yeah, and I also love that pick. I think he is a very, very good. Also, he can be the 6th lineman. I think a lot of people are thinking like, oh, he's never going to play. The Ravens love bringing in 6 linemen. They love bringing in 7 linemen. Daniel Falehi, eligible wide receiver.
He did play QB.
Yes, sir, he did. Throw him in. Mr. 6'8", throw him on a, you know, Lamar Jackson, you know, rolling out to the right. The classic Greg Roman, you know, 2-point conversion play call. But we actually got Daniel Falehi on a nice little route as a trick play, which actually works out because it's unexpected. So that is potential. However, I love the Charlie Kolar pick. I think he is the prototypical NFL tight end. Mm-hmm. He is a big body, physical, and he's very good at recognizing the soft spot in the zone. He is the perfect balanced tight end, and he's not a great blocker. No tight end coming out of college is a great blocker, because no tight ends have to really block in college unless they go to Stanford. That's like or like Navy or something like that. So Charlie Kolar is going to be taught up by the best tight end training organization in NFL history, and he's going to be a really good blocker. And he's got soft hands. He can run good routes. So I think that's a great pick in my opinion. And I think we talked about Jalen Armour-Davis a little bit earlier, but potential, right? Yeah. He gets to sit behind Marlon, Marcus, Mr. Iman Marshall, and the rest of the Ravens cornerbacks, even Brandon Stevens, Ardarius Washington, and just kind of learn. Hopefully the Ravens can develop him. They've done well with the Alabama corners. They know what they're doing with them. Hopefully he's just not put in a situation like Anthony Averett was, where it was like, okay, you're our number 1 cornerback now, when it was very clear coming into the year you were maybe cornerback 4. I think right now, like, he's a really solid cornerback at the end of the depth chart that could become something, 3-4 years in the future. But Joshua, do you have anything on Jalen Armour-Davis, Charlie Kolar?
Don't really have too much on Jalen Armour-Davis. We needed a depth. I mean, I wish we would have got a corner earlier, but hey, it is what it is. I understand that, at the end of the day, it's a business, and that we're riding on the backs of Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. It just puts me in a little alarming rate that we didn't get someone on the higher end, because we have not worked out a contract extension with Marcus Peters as of yet. That's my only concern.
Yeah.
Charlie Kolar, I do like the pick, but one thing I'll say about him, he will free up a lot. He will free up a lot of attention off of Mark Andrews. He's at that 6'7" frame. He knows how to box out. He doesn't wait for the ball to come to him. He attacks the ball at the point at the high point. So that's what's going to separate him a lot, especially being a red zone threat, because you can throw the ball to him in the back end. A lot of corners are not going to be able to jump up with him when he reaches up to get the ball. Only thing is, Lamar got to see him. Lamar got to put it up, and don't worry about Mark Andrews being your first option. If you see Charlie Kolar roll out, or whatever the case may be, and he got the one-on-one, trust him. Let that man throw it up to that young man. Let that young man come down with it. So I actually like that move as well.
Yeah, and let's get into the final picks of round 4. The final 3 picks of round 4. Jordan Stout, punter out of Penn State, Isaiah Likely, and Damarion Williams. Now, Joshua, I know you're going to talk about Isaiah Likely for a second, so I'm going to give my thoughts on Jordan Stout and Damarion Williams. I thought both of them were very good picks. I felt like Damarion Williams, it shows that the Ravens have a clear ideal cornerback size that they're looking for. They're not trying to go big and fast. They're trying to go technician and a little bit smaller, and he's a very good man-to-man coverage corner. And the punter, I talked about it, I felt like in every live stream the last couple of weeks. I felt people be like, draft a punter. I'm like, yeah, I agree. We should draft a punter. Like, I think that having a new punter could really help, because I just feel like Sam Cook has just not been the same guy that he's been in recent years. Too many times he's just putting it off the side of his foot. He's just not getting it, how he used to. And I love Sam. I think he'd be a great holder if the Ravens wanted to keep him on the roster for that, or even a coach if they wanted to hire him in that sense, like they did Anthony Levine. So that's kind of my thoughts on him and Damarion Williams. But Joshua, do you have any thoughts on those guys? And then also, obviously, Mr. Isaiah Likely.
First thing foremost, Sam Cook has contributed a lot to this organization. We love what he's done. I mean, he was one of the most successful. He had one of the most successful QB ratings until he missed the pass. So missed the pass completion. So I mean, hey, I'm all for it. But I mean, I did read up on something. If we did release him, we would actually open up 2.1 million worth of cap space. I mean, that would be interesting. I actually would like for them to part ways, respectfully, if it comes down to that. But also another thing about Mr. Stout, he also throws the ball too as a punter out of Penn State. So, it's actually exciting to see, us getting those Swiss Army knife type of guys, those dynamic players at any position. And, adding a young man like that, that's pretty dope. Who else did we draft? Marion Williams?
Damarion Williams, yeah.
I didn't do too much research on him, but I did see that. I do know that he is a solid corner. I love that he's Raven for the simple fact we need depth. Hopefully he can move up in the charts and make things happen. Maybe even get above a Mr. Marshall on the depth.
Whoa. This is ridiculous.
But look, y'all know what I'm gonna talk about, the man, the myth of the moment, Mr. Gorilla, Isaiah Likely, coming out of Coastal Carolina, one of those little schools in North Carolina. So I mean, let's talk about him. 6'5", about 245 pounds, built like and Andre Johnson and Megatron. For him, and the funny thing about him, I know everybody say, "Oh yeah, we're going back to the 3 tight end set." All that, TTB family. Let me slow it down for you just a little bit, because what I'm going to say, y'all going to get in the comments, y'all going to get in my case, and I'm totally fine with it. I'm saying it today. What's the day? The 3rd. The 3rd of May. Tomorrow's going to be the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Like that. If y'all watch Star Wars, go ahead and get y'all stuff ready for tomorrow and everything. Then you guys think of Damarion. Oh, it's going to be a great weekend. I think Canelo Alvarez.
Doctor Strange Friday too.
Doctor Strange, and I think Canelo Alvarez fight this weekend as well. So, hey,
Moon Knight finale.
I'm hurting.
I know. They did change their tweet though. Sorry for the Ravens fans. They changed their tweet. No longer was it the series finale. They changed it. Now it's a season finale.
So that
there's a chance.
We'll talk about that after we finish. So, Mr. Isaiah Likely, before he went to Coastal Carolina, he actually was a wide receiver in high school. Mm-hmm. So the thing about it, for the first 2 years, he was very consistent. He had 5 touchdowns. I want to say he ranged around between 500, 600 yards. Towards this past season, skyrocket, jumped up to maybe about 900 to close to 1,000 yards in receiving. Added 7 more touchdowns. So now he had 12 touchdowns. And also, they lined him up in the H-back. And on top of that, they lined him on the outside. So what I'm about to say now, y'all, I know we're worried about wide receiver. I know we've been saying we need a big body guy. I know we've been stressing out. And on top of that, I know y'all more scared now because y'all just saw his jersey number because he has number 80. I know, and the original number 80, I used to say, take him from wide receiver and make him to a tight end. So I'm gonna say this with the new number 80. Take him from tight end, moving over to wide receiver. Let him go ahead and work out his number as wide receiver number 2, because he actually does have the speed to get over top of safeties. Think about that. 6'5", 245 pounds, and you telling me this big young man right here has the speed to get over top of safeties and stretch the defense, and not only stretch out the defense, he can go the distance, y'all. He doesn't slow down. He gets faster. He has subpar route running. And we have some of the best coaches that can assist wide receivers and tight ends with route running. So, hey, Rashad Bateman, Isaiah Likely, maybe James Prochet in the slot, or Devin Duvernay. I'm kind of liking what we're doing here. As long as don't bring in T.Y. Hilton. So, Isaiah Likely, that's my guy. I see him being wide receiver number 2.
You know what's funny? Before we were recording, like, my favorite pick is Kyle Hamilton. I think that's known by most people. My number 2 guy is Isaiah Likely. And when we came into the call, Joshua was like, "Oh man, I got to say some things about Isaiah Likely. The people may not be liking it." I was like, "Oh, trust me, I like it because I'm a huge fan of him." I feel like we're gonna keep 4 tight ends on the roster if we consider him a tight end, because I think he's going to be used as a pass catching weapon. Use him in. You can put him on the line. You can put him out wide. He can block for you. At the wide receiver spot. Use him like you did Miles Boykin. But you can actually throw him at tight end because they wouldn't throw Miles Boykin on the line. I think he would be great on the line, great out wide, great in the slot. Just a versatile player for the Ravens to use. And also, is his nickname The Gorilla or Doug Gorilla? What's his? I know his Twitter.
I think his Twitter name is Doug Gorilla.
Doug Gorilla, right? Yeah. And because I saw that, I was like, "There's no way that's his nickname." And I was like, "Oh, it is. I like it. I like it. It's a sick nickname."
Gotta go eat shit sometime. I love it.
Not sometime, all the time. Just like that's Amon Marshall's motto. But getting into the final pick of the Ravens draft, Mr. Tyler Beatty, a 5'8" running back that also people think could potentially play a little bit of wide receiver as a hybrid player, also a former kick returner, punt returner, pass catching running back. I love the pick. I talked about him plenty of times. I think he was in my first or second mock draft I ever did for the Ravens. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of Tyler Beatty. I've talked about him plenty of times. Joshua, what do you think about Tyler Beatty? What do you think about it? Was that a good final pick, or should the Ravens have gone out and gotten wide receiver? Like, what do you think that grade was on the final pick?
I mean, at this point, I know people will be like, "Oh, dang, because Justin Ross was actually still available at 6."
And he was still available till yesterday.
Right. So I know people like, "Dang, yo, we picked up a running back. We should have went for Justin Ross." Y'all, think about it now. Think about it. We have McCrary, and Tyshawn Williams on reserve contracts. That's all good. But also remember, Tyshawn Williams was also in the doghouse. We don't know if he's going to get any playing time while J.K. and Gus are still rehabbing. Because I'm with everything that happened last year, I know our organization is not going to rush these guys to get back on the field. So we're going to see a lot of these younger men, get their chance to shine. They just got to, rise to the occasion and seize the moment. I feel like Tyler Beatty will be starting game 1 for the simple fact that these, J.K. and Gus are down. He's going to be that. He is a change of back pace type of running back. Also, with him being able to catch the ball out the backfield, now Lamar has another weapon to check down to instead of using his own legs, because what has Lamar always been talking about? He wants to prove that he's a quarterback. He can run. But at the same time, he wants to show his ability to throw the ball and be a passer. I'm all for it. So, and also add him on special teams to give Devin Duvernay a breather, so Devin can actually work out as a wide receiver and not be a gadget guy. And just let Tyler Beatty be that guy. Because when you start adding speed, when you start adding more talent, sometimes you have to really utilize that to the best of your ability.
Yep.
And Tyler Beatty could be an upgraded version of Justice Hill, because they did try to use him as a gadget guy and speed packages, and it just didn't work for him. So I'm hoping, that Tyler Beatty can be that guy, that speed back, that change of pace back. He is strong, but when he gets in the open field, he can hit you with a move like Tyreek Hill and go up the field. So I actually love the addition of the young running back for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's a make you miss type of player. He's a very quick, very shifty player that can catch the ball really well. I think overall, the Ravens smashed this one out of the park. I mean, every single draft grade I've read so far has been like the Ravens nailed it. The Ravens didn't make a mistake. The Ravens were incredible based on like every single metric you could go. But guys, what do you guys think about the draft? We are going to be live Wednesday night talking about most likely all of these selections, the wide receiver potential, in T.Y. Hilton and Jarvis Landry and all that stuff. Don't mention T.Y. around Joshua, I guess. But, overall, we're going to be talking about all that stuff. Please let us know what you guys think, because I think A+. A+ for me. It was incredible. So, guys, let us know what you guys want to do. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content. If you're listening on the podcast platform, make sure to rate and review. Check out the YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the podcast. You don't have to, if you don't have YouTube Premium, you can just listen to it and stuff like that. So thank you so much, and we'll see all of you again tomorrow night.